There's so much I can tell you, so much he can say. My power, my pleasure, my pain. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a while. I've been very busy with lots of different stuff, but I finally have the time to come back and make another video to share with you guys. Throughout this time that I've been kind of a little AWOL, I've been painting a lot, digitally painting a lot, and so I thought a good topic for today's video would be to share with you some of my process for those digital pieces. So recently I've been making a lot of portraits, and so I thought I could break down my process on how I create these portraits, like my thought process behind it. This video is going to be about drawing faces and how I personally draw faces, and then you can watch it and then maybe use some of the ideas that I have to draw your own faces. So I've divided this up into a few different points that I thought were the most important to talk about. The first thing that I consider when starting a portrait is this idea of capturing the essence. So the most important thing for me is to capture the feeling of a person, or attempt to capture the feeling of a person. Sometimes that does not work out in the end, but that is where I start. So I think about the kind of feeling that I get from this person, like what kinds of emotions come up, and then I use those emotions to guide the decisions that I make, like what colors I choose, how angular the forms are, how round the forms are. And then all of these factors kind of affect the emotions that other people are going to get when they're looking at the piece. A second major point for me is getting a good silhouette. Now, not everybody is so obsessed with silhouette for portraits, because a lot of portraits are going to be like straight on or close to straight on, and a lot of the details are going to be value based. It's not going to be like shapes against a background. But I still think that paying attention to silhouette is important with portraits, even though you're not creating like a crazy angular silhouette like if you were drawing a figure. You still want to consider the silhouette. So for example, on the piece of Leanne that I was working on, I tried to find reference photo where she had her hair up, and where I could see angles of her shoulders and her neck, because I really wanted to get those sharp angles. And for my piece of Bernadette, I was really lucky that I found a piece of Bernadette with her arm up, and just this kind of triangle shape really creates a good silhouette. So yes, you definitely, it depends on the reference that you're able to get, but considering the silhouettes of the figure is going to just make everything more readable and more striking from a distance. All right, this next point that I wanted to make is small shifts in hue can affect a lot in a portrait. So in a portrait, one of the inevitable focuses is going to be the skin. And in the skin, when you look at somebody's face, there are all these subtle shifts in hue that, as a person, when you're hanging out with somebody else, when you're seeing somebody else, you're not thinking, oh, this part of their face is more yellow, this part of their face is more pink. You kind of interpret somebody's skin as all one color, but when you look closer, it's made up of, you know, as many color shifts as exist. Just so many slight color shifts. Like traditionally, a simple way to look at it is like, obviously the cheeks are going to be a bit pinker, the lips are going to be have more red to them, around the eyes is going to have more red to them. But then there's also other things, like underneath the eyes can sometimes be yellow or purple. There's more of a cool tone around the jaw, especially with men, because of their stubble that they can have. And then even amongst all of that, there can be slight tones of like green and blue, and all of these shifts are subtle, but add so much to a piece. Especially I'm thinking of the drawing of Leanne. Like I added so many slight shifts of green around on her face to balance out the really warm, saturated orange tones that I wanted. And this helped bring all of the like planes of the face into like clearer view. It helped make the colors feel so more diverse and like vibrant, you know? All right, my next point is don't be afraid to be expressive. The other day, I shared a post on my Patreon where I talked a little bit about distortions that I did in a figure piece. And so I'm thinking of sharing even more like that kind of in-depth stuff on my Patreon. So check out my Patreon. I'd really appreciate your support, and I will go into even more depth on there on like the specifics of how I do things. And you can also ask me questions there that are very specific, and I will get to them quick. In the face, you know, you have so much freedom to distort, to create different expressions. And it can be difficult when doing a portrait. You don't want to distort too much because you don't want it to be into look like caricature-like, unless that's what you're going for. And also, you know, you want it to look like the person you're creating the portrait of. But emphasizing some of their features that stand out to you can be a great way to create the feeling of a person, to create a likeness without going into insane hyper-realistic detail. So if a person has, for example, Billie Eilish, Billie Eilish's eyes are super intense to me, like, because she has very pale irises, and then especially in the look that she did at the Met Gala, has dark eye makeup on. So when I created this painting of her, I made sure to emphasize that. I made sure to emphasize that even more. I also stylized it by putting not just, you know, the pale blue of her eyes and the dark of the makeup, but I also added in other vibrant colors to emphasize this area even further and bring your attention right to it. Another pointer, or another thing that I wanted to bring up, this is specifically like for people who are struggling at like the sketching phase, the drawing phase, and proportion and that kind of thing. Make sure, if you are just beginning with doing portraits and stuff like that, that you stay focused on the big picture with the portrait. And what I mean by that is, don't get so caught up in one feature of the face at a time. Say you are drawing somebody, you're sketching them, and you're just drawing like one eye. You're just drawing one eye for like 15 minutes at the beginning of the sketch. What can happen when you focus on one piece of the face at a time like that is you can end up having a lot of trouble with proportions. So although you'll have lots of nice detail in that section you worked on, it won't look right in relation to the rest of the face. So you'll have like weird perspective skewing things happening, kind of oddly shaped faces. So make sure to be like stepping back from your piece. If you're working in digital, zooming out a lot. I zoom out constantly. And if you're working traditional, like just stepping back and making sure everything still looks good. Like, don't get tunnel visioned onto one piece at a time, because it can make the piece suffer overall. This is less like a tip and more like just something I like to do that maybe could be an idea for somebody else to do, is I like to incorporate objects that have relevance to the person that I'm painting or drawing. So for example, in the painting of Leanne, I have daisies, and that's just because she kind of reminds me of a daisy, just personality wise. In the painting of Billy, I went for a more like intense color background, because she strikes me as like fun and colorful and bold. And then with the painting of Bernadette, I added the pins around the top to create like an exclamation, but also because she sews. So yeah, adding these fun little Easter egg details can be good because, one, it's just fun to draw them, and two, it can give the people that maybe don't know the person you're drawing a little bit of context. And it can give them a feel for like who it is. It can add a bit of intrigue, like, oh, why is this person have pins in the painting? That's strange. And then they might want to learn more. It just kind of is a captivating detail. So give that a try if you would like. The last point that I wanted to make I wanted to say kind of why I like drawing people. So for me, I like drawing, first of all, I just like the process of painting people's faces. I think it's really fun. The color parts, like choosing the colors you add, combining beautiful colors together is my favorite part of painting and making art right now. But I also find making a portrait of somebody fun because it feels like honoring them. I like to paint people that I think have in one way or another created something beautiful that enhances my life. So a lot of times I'll paint, musicians who create music that I think is really wonderful. Or I will paint artists or content creators or other people that I think are wonderful and create beautiful stuff. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that my little tips and or just like sharing about my process was helpful to you and gave you some ideas to try with your own stuff. So yeah, be sure to leave a like if you like the video, subscribe, join my Patreon. I'm going to leave a link in the description to that. And I'd really appreciate any support you can give me. I'm going to be sharing exclusive content there that will give you even more in-depth insights on like the stuff that I'm making and how I make it. Also, I'm going to be putting a link to my print shop like always, so check that out if you want to get a print. I'm going to be updating my print store pretty soon, so a lot of these prints are probably going to go. So if you want a print, you're going to need to get one soon before I discontinue it forever. I hope the things that I said could help you, and happy painting, guys. Yeah, be cool, be true, be you. Be true, be you. I'm sorry for the background, it's kind of bad, but it is what it is. See you guys in the next video. All right, bye.